The basic definition of a student outcome is what students know and are able to do. And the thing that is very difficult for a lot of people to sometimes understand is it centers on that word student. We often talk about teachers, teachers getting training to do this and programs that come into our school systems that can do this. That's not a student outcome. Those are things that go in to create those student outcomes.
If you were to ask any board member, they'd say, oh yes, we truly do focus on student outcomes. Well, what they're focusing on, if you go to their board meeting and really watch what's happening and look at their agenda, they're focusing mostly on inputs.
So as a school board member, my fundamental role is to govern and oversee the management of the school system. There are 4 primary functions that a school board member serves. The first is to set the vision and the mission of the district. The second is to ensure that you are passing policies and revising policies that are critical to the education of our students. Next, it's to manage and oversee the work of the superintendent. And then finally, to be a community advocate, someone who is consistently going out and engaging the community to get an understanding of their thoughts on DISD and how to incorporate those into system-wide decision-making.
We're talking about governance in the sense of, at least in my district, these are elected officials, meaning that you're asking people for your support and your vote to be able to say that I'm going to represent you, meaning I'm going to hear what you have to say. I know what your needs are, and I'm willing to be the advocate to go in here and meet on their behalf and to make sure that you get those things that you need. That's what the heart and essence of governance is supposed to be, is that a representative of the people, of the district in which you are a part of, that you live in and work in, and that this is your community that you're fighting and advocating for.
They manage billions of dollars, billions of taxpayer dollars, and make hundreds and hundreds of decisions that affect not only children and educators, but also our community. People do not recognize how important and how instrumental those school boards are to not only the outcomes that our students have, but also how that education system impacts our own community.
Each school has its own needs, it has its own culture, and the school board needs to be that body of people who can really go in and say, how can we best support that body, that principal, that faculty, that staff? What are the resources they're going to need, and how can we be behind the scenes helping in whatever way to make sure that they have the things that they need to best educate those students for us to put out the best product, these people who are going to go be ambassadors for our schools, our cities.
And the fact that it's a voluntary position that's occupied by individuals who are just passionate and empathetic about the quality of education for students, it intensifies the level of appreciation and profound respect that me as an educator that I have for the individuals who signed up for this pro bono gig that really shapes the foundation of our society.
So originally I wanted to be a school board member because I wanted to fix athletics, the food in the schools. I was focused on the things that mattered at the street level, at the community level, and came in for what we would now say were all the wrong reasons. Good intentions, but not what school board governance is designed to do.
They focus on adult issues. They spend a lot of time focusing on facilities and contracts and minutia that really affects adults but has nothing to do with how our kids do.
Being a parent coming into the system, my lens was as a parent first, and as a board governance second and really last.
The school board members that we see who are most effective have a unique and strategic focus on student outcomes and really do their best not to let all of the other issues that come up, which there are so many, not let that be a detraction to the ultimate goal of getting kids ready for the lives that they pursue.
Be self-aware of who you are and how you view the role. So in that self-awareness is recognizing where you stand with power, and I don't just mean personal power, I even mean positional power. The role comes with a lot of positional power, and so knowing and understanding how you as the individual embark on a journey of handling personal and positional power is crucial, because when the day comes that you don't get your way as a trustee, you may exhume your positional power in a way that may be destructive to the entire system.
There are 3 specific behaviors of board members that when they exhibit these behaviors, student outcomes and student achievement does increase. Number 1, it's working collaboratively with the superintendent to write those student outcome goals. Number 2, identifying limitations and non-negotiables, things that they don't want to have happen in their school district. And number 3 is monitoring those goals. A board that governs has their goals, they know what they want to achieve, they know what they want their students to be able to do. Superintendent, this is your job. This is what you're held accountable for. This is what we are evaluating you on. We're not going to evaluate you on how many checks you signed. We're going to evaluate you on how our students are doing.
If you have a true partnership with your colleagues, and you have a true partnership with the superintendent, that comes with trust. And I understand that that's very, very delicate. But the superintendent is key, because they are the ones who are steering the ship. The board members are to lay out the overall vision and hold the superintendent accountable. So that's one of the stickiest spots for a board member to want to behave as a superintendent.
I learned a long time ago from a very wise mentor. He said, "You 35 superintendents, you guys are nothing but a bunch of hired hands." I said, "Wait a minute, I'm a well-trained professional educator. What are you talking about?" He goes, "Raise your hand if you're going to retire in the community where you serve right now." And only 3 people raised their hand. And he goes, "See, I told you were hired hands." I said, "But your board members, they're going to retire where they're serving their community right now. So it's not your money. It's their money, their kids, and their schools."
Every one of your decisions as a school board member has student outcomes at the forefront of your decision making. Think about your behaviors as a school board member and whether or not they are positively or negatively impacting those student outcomes. Once you can do those 2 things, then you really can empower yourself to be a better advocate and a better school board member and put student-first decisions in place that will ultimately impact the outcome of all the students that you're in charge of governing for.
Have love for what you do. Have love for being passionate about advocating for education and advocating for all students. And in that, all is also recognizing that there's issues of equity that must be addressed. That, as our superintendent says, the demographics aren't changing, they have changed. And that means that a trustee has to have love for all children in the system, not just the ones that look like you, not just the ones that think like you, or not just the ones that live in your community.
If the board and the district were more focused on student outcomes and specifically on student progress, there would be a lot more freedom to be able to give students what they need by being flexible.
If I were going to give tips to teachers about advocating or having a seat at the table in this game we call education, the first thing is to just get involved in understanding board politics. Start with your campus, become an expert in some area, and then use that which you know well, your expertise, to kind of infect others, and that may move on beyond your campus.
Get your community involved. Get, gather them up and talk about maybe these are some of the same things they want to see changed within their schools, and show up at the board meetings and speak. Sign up to speak and be persistent and consistent. And if there's information that can back up why the change needs to happen, then provide that, because then you have more ammunition at that point.
The way that the community can help is to become more engaged. and to participate and to speak up, both in terms of encouraging what is right with the system and helping us redirect when things can be improved. And I would encourage community members to participate, whether it's at a board meeting, in the public comment section, whether it's sending communication to me, whether it's communicating with the trustees in their area. More information is better than not enough.
This is not just for teachers, this is for everybody. Get out there and vote, please. When there is an election, whether it's a school board election, whether it's a municipal election, whether it's a national election, they all really come together. The exciting thing to me about local politics is you can have almost an immediate influence.